Good afternoon. My name's Nick Strong. Welcome to this session of Real Franchisee Stories. And we have some real franchisees here today to tell their stories, which is going to be exciting and insightful. And I think the value of this session is, obviously, you've got the opportunity to speak to franchisors in the hall, but the people, obviously, that you really want to be speaking to are those that are on the sharp end, the franchisees. So that it's your opportunity to hear about their journey and their stories. You know, 6 months ago, I think, Ben, you were sitting where our friends are sitting, and Julie about 3 years ago, and you had to go through that decision-making process. So we're interested to find out how you did that and the steps that you took. So, Julie, if you'd like to start, just to introduce yourself by name, brand, and what you do, please.
Okie dokie. So, my name is Julie Adams. I work with Auditel. We are a cost procurement and carbon franchise, white collar franchise working with small, medium enterprise businesses looking at quantifying carbon reduction and the whole net zero journey, and also how we can potentially save costs and overheads for them as well. So cost and carbon is our game.
Excellent. Ben, what about yourself?
So yeah, I'm Ben Ayres from Than Loft Ladders, and Than Loft Ladders, we transform people's homes, so we help them unlock extra space in their home by installing loft ladders, lighting, boarding, insulation. So yeah, that's what we do.
Excellent. So, when you decided, perhaps you were gainfully employed before, and you decided that I no longer want that, I want to be self-employed, I'm curious to know, Julie, why, rather than just starting with your own idea, you chose to go the franchise route?
Yeah, I mean, I guess mine is a slightly different story. I was employed by corporate up to my late 30s, and I actually at that time did start my own business. In fact, worse than that, I actually bought a business that had failed. It was actually in liquidation, so I know what it's like to be employed. I also know what it's like to start out my own. And having sold that business, I decided not to go back to corporate. I wanted to continue to be self-employed, but really the franchise side sort of hopefully appealed to me on the basis I wanted to lessen my risk. I wanted to shorten that curve to earning money, which is quite lengthy when you're starting out on your own. So I guess it was de-risking, shortening that curve, but also then getting into something that perhaps I wasn't entirely fully briefed, qualified and trained in, but I thought I was really passionate about, and being able to leverage off of that quite quickly to build a business that I could go into and grow.
So, Julie, you spoke about de-risking going into business. That was an interesting term. I would suggest that the de-risking of going into the business is perhaps all about the proven model, the proven system. Then, in terms of you going into self-employment through the franchise route, tell us about the benefits of following a proven system when you're going straight into a business, perhaps for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, my story was just under a year ago. I found out that I was going to be made redundant. So I'd worked at BT Openreach for nearly 20 years. And probably the last sort of 6-7 years in various senior management roles. I wasn't expecting it, so that was a bit of a shock. And I think similar to you, Julie, it was my instinct was, I've got to keep the money coming in. I need something that's going to be speedy to get going. I was on a decent salary at Openreach, so I tried. For my first step was trying to find a job. It was really hard to replicate what I had before, but then I thought, well, actually, I've got loads of experience in operations, in logistics, in leadership. Where else can I use those skills? And I thought, if I start looking at franchises, I get the benefit of feeling like I'm still part of a community, because I quite like the corporate world, but I also get the benefit of being a business owner. I can follow proven systems. I can follow the Than Loft Ladders playbook. I can much more quickly get my product out to market and scale the business more quickly as well. So that's what really attracted me, and I think having a really supportive network and franchisor that's helped me to do that has really helped me to scale quite quickly.
So really, you're talking about the system and the support helping you really move forward your aspiration far more quickly and effectively. That's really essentially what franchising has done for you both, would you say?
And it's interesting because a lot of people, which you've all probably heard as well, a lot of people say, why on earth would you buy a franchise? Why don't you just start the business yourself? It's only a bit of chipboard that you screw down in someone's loft, it can't be that hard. But actually, to do all of the branding yourself, to generate all of the leads, to the systems, etc., is a lot more complex than you think. And the speed to market of using a franchise means that you can focus on service and scaling and driving more revenue much more quickly.
The doing bit's the reward, I suppose, really, isn't it? So now when I look around the hall, maybe there's 60, 70 different franchises in here. They're all successful. They're all proven, they're all profitable, they're all systemized, they're all replicable. But our friends here have to take all of those choices and get them down to the one that's right for them. So Julie, how did you go through the process of finding the one franchise out of the 1,000 that there is in the UK?
I guess I would say one of the things I did start with was coming to this several years ago. I think that working backwards at the point I was in my life, the important thing for me was, first of all, was the purpose of the franchise what I wanted? Was it going to be doing what I enjoyed? I think I spent, like a lot of people, a lot of my corporate career not always enjoying what I've done, not always feeling my beliefs, my sort of strengths were being aligned. So the first thing was to find what did I want to do, and therefore how did that bring that belief and strength. And obviously the whole piece around sustainability was really important to me. So I was, at the start of that, I was passionate, and I guess following on from that was, who's got a proven model that has depth? Is it recession proof? And the other two things that was important to me in the search, that has been very important in the delivery of building a business, has been the ongoing support. I think I looked at a lot of franchises at the beginning that had great launch campaigns, but the reality is you're in this for 5 to 10 years. What support is there behind that? What training is there? Particularly in something like the carbon and sustainability world, things are progressing really quickly. How are they going to help me continue to support and grow that business in the long term? So that was really important. And the other one, which sometimes people forget, and I think you mentioned it, is the strength of the network. The whole point for me going into this was being, not on my own, of being able to reach out and get the strength of offering, the strength of support and delivery through the network. And that's kind of what I found in Auditel and what they did. So I think, don't just do it for the money. Yes, there's got to be good returns behind it, but do it because you're passionate, you've got the values, and there's a long-term business that's stable.
Excellent. So there's quite a few things that you mentioned there. The system, the network, feeling passionate about what you're getting involved with, making sure that you can make money out of it. There's quite a few things to consider there, really. There's quite a lot of depth to dig into. Ben, I think that one of the challenges of being in an event like this is you've got access to a mountain of information, but that can also be extremely challenging. When you can be overwhelmed with the amount of information that you can take away. So how did you manage that potential information overload and whittle it down to franchise businesses that you wanted to seriously consider, from right down to maybe a list of maybe 2 or 3 that you were really going to be looking at?
I mean, I looked at that, I considered what are my strengths. So logistics, operations, managing people that drive around in vans, doing a thing, going to a customer's house and doing some sort of install. which help me to hone in on brands that will help me to do that.
So you looked at your core skills.
Yeah, looked at my skills and thought, where can I apply those? Because surely that's going to help me be more successful more quickly. And then it can be very overwhelming because there's lots of information to take in. I can be quite cynical, so I don't want to feel like I'm being sold to either. So something I made sure that I did is lots of due diligence in talking to real franchisees, and not just the one or two that the franchisor might ask you to go and speak to, but network a bit wider and talk to lots of different people. And in every business, there's a range. Some people are going to be doing better than others. Some people are operating different models than others. So for the Loft Ladders, I'm operating a model where I've got people in a van that are doing the work on my behalf, and I'm focusing on sales. Other people are owner-operator, and they're doing all the work themselves, and both can work. But do your homework, speak to real franchisees, and understand from them how quickly have they done, what are the pitfalls, hurdles, and then you can more quickly overcome them yourself. And also spend enough time talking to the franchisor. Don't just talk to a salesperson, talk to the franchisor and understand how much support are you going to get from them personally, because I think that's really important. It sounds like you had the similar thing, Bess. In some franchises are huge with hundreds of franchisees. Are you going to get enough support? Is the structure there? So I think that's really important for me as well.
So that's really fascinating. You're talking about really getting some in-depth insight. Make sure all our friends here get really in-depth insight from every layer within the organisation. Yeah. So just digging into that selection and let's call it an onboarding process for yourselves. What should our friends here expect in terms of, say, if they speak to a franchisor here today, what sort of response should they expect? And what might be some warning signs to look out for, Julie? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think looking at the training program, being very clear on what you're going to get at that very early stage is quite important. Obviously, a focus on a good marketing plan at that point in time. But once you've got the marketing out there, you need to know that you are going to be trained and ready to take those first clients on as well. So I think look at yourself, look at almost the franchise as if you were a customer, and look at some of those new franchisors coming in. What does the marketing look like? Does it look professional? Is there a good process to that? I think I found multi-channel marketing is really important to hit business clients, white collar clients. Since COVID in particular, it's all gone a bit sort of online. So,
what is multi-channel marketing?
Multi-channel marketing. So not only direct marketing, nice leaflets. It's have we got a LinkedIn presence? Is there? I think I ended up doing things like webinars, networking. Having that full scope of how you're going to get in contact with your clients. Have you got enough training at the beginning? Is there a good enough program there? What is the support that aligns to that? It can be a really kind of busy time, and you're looking at all sorts of things. So once you hit the ground, you need to make sure in advance that the franchisor has laid that out and are going to guide you and make sure you're working off solid foundations.
Excellent. So thinking then about questions. Some important questions today and going forward. Let's say questions for today. Can you think of 2 or 3 questions you think would be really important for our friends to ask the franchisors that they choose to speak to today?
I think just keep it simple and see how quickly the franchisor is able to give you a confident answer. So don't be afraid to ask questions like, what can I expect to earn from doing this franchise? How much of my personal time am I going to have to give? Which franchisees can I talk to? I think I'm quite a demanding franchisee. Liam, the franchisor, would probably agree with that. But you're paying for a service essentially, so you can all be demanding franchisees. Like, what's your Well, what's your gut feel with you can strike up a relationship with somebody in 30 seconds. What's your gut feel as well? But grill people with questions, and they should be able to understand. They should be able to give you answers pretty quickly. Or do you just get the vibe that you're being sold to, and there's not much substance behind the sales pitch? Because there's a lot of franchises like that out there as well. So yeah.
So do your homework.
Absolutely. Do you try and do your homework before, but really grill the people here today and see how good they are at giving you the answers that you need.
And I think that vibe about getting along with people is important, because your franchise agreement might be 5 or 10 years, so you've got to get along with them, haven't you?
Yeah.
Julie, in terms of one thing that Ben brought out was speaking to franchisees. What would you say are important questions to ask franchisees?
Yeah, I think it's, get their experience. What's their real life experience? There are pros and cons to any business. Can they give you any insights on the challenges they faced, as well as the opportunities that they saw in the franchise? And I guess you have to assess whether those are challenges that are really important to you, or you think your skill set will overcome those challenges. But I know now, 3 years in, I talk to people coming into the business. I'm very open about the pluses and minuses, because any business will have those. So I think, push on both of those and make sure you understand what's worked well and what you would perhaps need to be looking at strengthening the franchisor, because hopefully the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So sometimes you can move the business forward in the same way as they can you. And does that match really well, I think.
So when it comes to problem solving, it sounds like there's yourself, there's the franchisor, and there's the network who can contribute to that. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, if you can get that in a franchise, the strength of that, I think, is, for me, talking to different franchises, that is much stronger than just being a one-on-one relationship with a franchisor. I think that network adds another layer. And I think I just finished my talk. I was asked to sort of estimate what that percentage was, and I think it was almost as strong as 50-50, because it's a different position. And if I can learn what people are doing that's working well across a whole range of people, and that might change as the business and the franchise goes through time, that's as strong as what the franchise all started with in the first place.
So then, in a franchise, you've got a proven system, you've got a franchisor to support you, and you've got a network that's behind you as well. What's your part?
Hopefully I just get to sit at home in the hot tub.
You just wake up in the morning and all happens for you, does it?
That would be lovely, wouldn't it? My part is, I guess my average day looks like I go and meet my guys, they're loading up the van, we're talking about any issues that need to be resolved or what's the work ahead for the week. I will spend time with my guys on their jobs, doing safety checks, etc. But a lot of my time is spent working with the advertising agencies that I use, trying to do some strategic thinking about how I'm going to expand, what kind of next steps is my business taking, making sure that I'm actually making some money and not spending too much and being profitable. You can get very caught up in the day-to-day operation of running any business and quietly forget important things like, am I actually making a profit? So I think for me, make sure that you're finding a way to carve out the time for yourself so you're not getting consumed by the day-to-day. So if that means hiring somebody earlier to help you with admin, or hiring somebody earlier to help you with quoting or surveys, whatever your business involves, that's really important. And it might feel like an overhead that maybe you don't need at the beginning, but the quicker you do it, the quicker you can scale and be more successful.
So Julie, what Ben has spoken about there, to my mind, isn't so much the work interface itself, but it's about building and running a business. In terms of the day-to-day of what you do, give us an insight for that, for you.
Well, I built with Auditel, I ended up building a practice. I have 3 staff now as well. So I guess very similarly, the year on year looked very different for me. In the early stages, it was more about building the marketing, getting out there, getting the brands, getting brand me. I mean, you buy a brand in franchising, but ultimately you've still got to build that brand alongside your skill set and build the business. But then, actually going out, doing some delivery in the early days, and as that grew, then as a consultancy practice, bringing other people on board, I brought on a franchisee, an apprentice who we trained up, doing our data and back office work. So a lot of my focus now is making sure strategically the business is working well, that we continue to recruit clients, that we're monitoring, that we're doing a good job. But it's really pretty eclectic. So, making sure the work's done right the way through to making sure things are invoiced, making sure the staff are happy. Typical days, and very typical, I guess, now for me.
Okay, excellent. So it's really a case of getting stuck in and getting your hands dirty really from day one, but you can build out the scale of operations as you build your business. Is that right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think going back to that sort of joy of the network, we have a concept within our network of joint venturing. So there are clients now that if my team, I don't particularly want my practice to grow much bigger from a direct staff perspective, but what I do is if I take on additional clients or projects, I can use other affiliates within the network to help deliver that work. So I'm making some strategic decisions now to actually put some of that work into the network, so I can perhaps finish a bit earlier on a Friday and not work Saturdays.
So that's not from day one, though. You've had to build some depth into your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people who join franchising think it's going to be easier. It's easier, lower risk, but it is still starting a business, and so the effort still has to be there, and you still have to go through that curve of building the business before you can start playing golf on a Friday. And I'll let you know when that happens.
We're running out of time, but another question. We're not always living in boom times economically. Things go up and down, and uncertainties can come in and out, and we're probably in a bit of a time of shakiness and uncertainty at the moment. How has franchising helped you de-risk in terms of kind of what can feel like an uncertain time, especially when you've got staff? Ben, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think the brilliant thing about franchising is that I'm working alongside a network of other franchisees and a franchisor that have all been there and done that and lived through good times, difficult times, lived through installing loft transformations during COVID, etc. So there's lots of advice to pull on from that network of what to do when you've got a quieter spell. How do you scale up ready for a busier spell? Like loft boarding is seasonal as well. It can be busy at different points. We're hopefully getting into a busier period as we approach the winter and people need their houses to be warmer. So I think the network and the advice is really, really important. It's becoming increasingly difficult and making it more difficult in terms of employment rights and how you can manage a flexible workforce. So I think, lots of things to think about in the plan.
And your thoughts on that, Julie?
Yeah, I think one of the things, I brought into the Auditel franchise literally just coming out of COVID, so that question was very high in my mind because I think we all didn't know what was going to happen at that point in time. So I think the first thing is when you're actually buying the franchise, I would look at, you typically look at the cycle of economics, and at some point probably in your 10-year franchise, you are going to hit one of those. And I guess the advantage at the moment is we're in it, so you're kind of planning for it. So one of the appeals for me for when I entered Auditel was I looked at it and thought, what happens to this market if we do enter a period of problems? And my viewpoint was, well, actually, people are always going to want to cost optimise, almost particularly because we're in a period of economic challenge. And the net zero question isn't going to go away either, just depending on that. And again, I think, looking at this as there's around 130 consultants working in our network, what happened in this change of economics is we all spotted different burning platforms, and you spot that quicker if there's 130 of you out there, and you can make that swing and learn about those changes quicker, and more dynamically sort of swing your business to look at the things that are booming, because in any economic downturn it tends not to be a whole market downturn, it tends to be certain areas. So where are those areas, where are the opportunities in those more difficult times? And hopefully, again, being part of that network, you see that and spot those trends more quickly.
So we're running out of time in terms of questions and answers, but I'm just thinking, a final question, I think it's a good one, is Julie, you took on an Auditel franchise 3 years ago. Are you glad you did it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't knock the independent business I ran. I sold it for a reasonable amount of money, but I think if I knew what I knew now about franchising, I wish I'd have done it at that point as well. I think, and now I kind of work with a lot of the new starter franchises. Very similar stories to my colleague here. You get made redundant. You want to look at something independent, and I think if I knew what I knew now, I would probably go that route where my previous business was as well. So yeah, I guess in essence, it's I wish I'd have done it many years ago, it's definitely a route that I think is more robust, quicker to revenue, and so therefore, yeah, I would recommend doing it.
And what about your story, Ben? Because you're quite new into your franchise, aren't you? So it's only about 4 or 5 months in.
I think very similar. Yeah, wish I'd done it 20 years ago. I think the thing I love best about it is hard work, but when you work hard, there are real tangible rewards. Like you might make some more money. In the corporate world, I'd work really hard, and sometimes you'd be lucky if you even got a thank you. So it's definitely much more rewarding, and 100%. Yeah, wish I'd done it a long time ago. And now I'm building something that could be a legacy and get my family involved in as well. I've got a 17-year-old son, 20-year-old daughter. My son's now wanting to go and study business management at university, for example. So, I think it's brilliant. And if you're here today thinking, should I buy a franchise? 100%. I think you should. Just pick the right one and make sure you get the right school.
So I think that what the story from today is be intentional, ask your questions, do your homework, make sure that it's really the right thing for you, it really fits well for you, and then pursue it with 100% of enthusiasm. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, well, listen, we've run out of time, but if our friends here would like to speak to you after, do you know your stand number where they can come and speak to you after?
100.
You're on stand 100. Is there a letter in front of that?
E100, yeah.
Okay, Julie.
So I'm in E as well, so E230. And if you see the big white Toyota van is in front of our stand, so we're easily recognisable. Head to the back of the hall. We're on the right-hand side behind the Toyota van.
Wonderful. So any questions you have for our friends, please head over to their stands and have a word with them there. They'll be delighted to speak to you. Thank you to our panel and thank you for coming on today. Thank you.
Thank you. Good.